Welcome, everyone. In this deep dive, we're looking at something really fundamental in the SAP world, creating and managing users.
Hmm.
Specifically, we're using a visual guide for the SU01 transaction. The goal here is to sort of demystify this process, right?
Exactly. And to highlight how it ties into SAP's whole approach to security and access control. It's all built on roles and
Right,
authorizations.
those are the key concepts. Before we even get to creating a user, maybe we should quickly touch on that, roles and authorizations.
Yeah, definitely. So think of SAP systems. They protect access to pretty much everything. Transactions, programs, services, you name it.
Okay.
And users, well, they can't just wander around freely. They need specific permissions, specific authorizations to do anything, like view data or run a report.
So you can't accidentally stumble into, like, financial planning if you're supposed to be in warehouse management.
Precisely. And to make that manageable, these individual authorizations, these permissions, they're grouped together into roles.
Ah, okay. So a role is like a job function.
That's a great way to put it. A role defines what a user can do based on their job. Like an accounts payable clerk role would have all the necessary permissions for AP tasks.
And I read something about profiles being linked to roles. What's that connection?
Right. So when you define a role in SAP, the system also generates a corresponding profile.
Okay.
The profile is, let's say, the technical object that actually holds the collection of authorizations. So assigning the role to the user technically grants them the permissions listed in that profile.
Got it. Role is the job description, profile is the technical key ring.
Yeah, that works. And this whole structure, it helps enforce segregation of duties. You
Yeah.
make sure one person doesn't have conflicting access, which is, critical for security.
Absolutely. Now, to even get into SU01, this user maintenance screen, you need special access yourself, don't you?
Oh, definitely. You can't just log in as anyone. You need an account with pretty broad administrative privileges. Think like the default SAP user, though you shouldn't really use that day to day. Or maybe a specifically created admin user like BCUSAR.
Okay, makes sense. So let's assume we're logged in as an admin.
Yeah.
What's the first step to create, say, a new employee's account?
Pretty simple to start. You just type SU01 into that command field, the navigation box at the top, hit enter.
And that brings up the main user screen.
Yeah, the user maintenance initial screen. Then you type in the desired username. The guide uses user1 as an example, but it'd be your company's naming convention.
Right.
And then you click the create button. Looks like a blank page icon usually.
Okay, creating user 1. Then it asks for personal details.
It does. You land on the address tab first. There are some mandatory fields there. Title, last name, first name. You have to fill those in.
Standard stuff.
Standard stuff. It links into SAP's Business Address Services, or BAS. There's room for more details too, like department, phone number, but those aren't always required up front.
Gotcha. Address done.
Yeah.
What about the login itself? Passwords, user type.
That's crucial. You switch over to the Logon Data tab. And the most important field here really is the user type.
User type.
Yeah. For a regular person logging in and interacting with the system, you need to select dialogue.
Dialogue, okay. Are there others?
Oh, yeah. You'll see options like system, maybe for background processes, communication for system-to-system links, service for anonymous access sometimes, reference for templates. But for our new employee, it's dialogue.
Dialogue user, got it.
Mm-hmm.
And the password.
You'll see fields to set an initial password. You type it in, confirm it. Definitely need to securely tell the new user what it is.
Right, because they'll likely need to change it on first login.
Exactly. You also set the account's validity period here, valid from and valid through dates. Usually you set the valid through way out, unless it's a temporary account.
Okay. And I see other fields like user group, cost center.
Those help with administration and reporting, grouping users, assigning costs. Useful, but maybe not the first thing you must fill in.
Okay. Can we tweak their starting experience? Like language or date format?
Yep, that's under the defaults tab. You can set their login language, how dates and times look, even their default printer sometimes. Makes it smoother for them.
And parameters.
Yeah,
That sounds
right.
a bit more technical.
It can be, but it's powerful. Parameter IDs or PIDs let you set default values for specific fields across the system for that user. So if someone always works with a certain company code or plant, you can set it here so they don't have to type it in constantly.
Real time saver.
Okay.
Basics, login defaults. Now the big one, assigning the actual permissions via roles.
Right. For that, you click the Roles tab,
Makes sense.
and you'll see a list, probably empty for a new user. You need to add the role that corresponds to their job.
How do you find the right one?
There's a search field. You can type part of the role name or, like the guide suggests, type an asterisk
Wow.
and hit enter to see, well, potentially a lot of available single roles.
Maybe narrow it down a bit.
Bubbly-wise, let's say we want to give this user ABAP development rights. The example uses SABCW developer. You find that role, select it.
Okay, selected. Is that it?
Almost. You also typically set a validity period for the role assignment itself, similar to the user account validity. Then you hit save.
And saving the user locks in that role and all its permissions.
Exactly. The system links the role and thus its profile and authorizations to the user account. The guide even mentions logging in as user1 with the initial password just to double check everything worked.
Good practice.
Yeah.
What if I need to create like 10 developers? Same role, same defaults. Is there a shortcut?
Yes, absolutely. Back on the initial SU01 screen, instead of create, there's a copy button. You can enter an existing user as a reference, say your first developer, then put in the new username. It lets you choose what parts to copy, the address data, the roles, parameters, defaults. Saves a ton of clicking.
That's much better for bulk creation. And inevitably, password resets.
Also handled right here in SU01.
Yeah.
You just enter the username of the person who's logged out or forgotten their password, and there's a specific button or menu option for changing or resetting the password. Usually involves setting a new initial one again.
So SU01 really is the command center for user lifecycle management in SAP.
It absolutely is. From creation, assigning rights via roles, tweaking defaults, copying, and even handling password issues, it all happens there. It underpins the whole security model.
It's clear that understanding SU01 and this role-based approach is, well, fundamental for anyone managing or working within an SAP environment, giving the right access securely.
Couldn't have said it better.
Okay, this has been super helpful. So a final thought for you, our listener. Take this core idea we've discussed, structuring access based on roles rather than just individual permissions. How might that apply outside of SAP? Think about shared drives at work, project management tools, maybe even how you share photos with family online. What are the real benefits and maybe the challenges of applying that kind of structured role-based thinking to other systems you use every day? Something to chew on. Welcome, everyone. In this deep dive, we're looking at something really fundamental in the SAP world, creating and managing users. Specifically, we're using a visual guide for the SU01 transaction. The goal here is to sort of demystify this process, right?
Exactly. And to highlight how it ties into SAP's whole approach to security and access control. It's all built on roles and authorizations.
Right, those are the key concepts. Before we even get to creating a user, maybe we should quickly touch on that, roles and authorizations.
Yeah, definitely. So think of SAP systems. They protect access to pretty much everything. Transactions, programs, services, you name it.
Okay.
And users, well, they can't just wander around freely. They need specific permissions, specific authorizations to do anything.